A few weeks ago, a friend of mine told me that in the cycle shop across the road from me, there was a bicycle for 260,000 Rand. Now, if you're living in abroad from South Africa, then that's a small fortune. It's about 13,000 pounds. That's on the exchange rate, but that's absolutely not what it feels like in your pocket. You should think about it being in terms of about 25,000 pounds. So I'm thinking, I got to have a look at this. So I'm cycling home and I'm thinking, is this just another one of my crazy ideas, or shall I just go in and, have a look in the shop or go back home? I decided to go and have a look in the shop. I walk into the shop and I say, is it true that there's a bike for 260,000 Rand? He says, yes, there's also a bike for 280,000 Rand. I'm like, okay. He says, do you want to see it? Like, of course. And he points over my shoulder to a rather underwhelming looking black mountain bike. And the other chap says, well, I'll give you a tour if you like. So he then proceeds to tell me about this bike. It turns out it's an e-bike, which I hadn't really considered. And he says, the first thing he says to me is, look, it's 260,000 Rand, but if you break it down into the frame and the forks and the wheels and the chain set and so on and so forth, you start to kind of get some perspective on that quite enormous figure. And then you put into effect some of the factors like the fact that it's an e-bike. I'm frankly oblivious to e-bikes, and I come from the school of a bicycle is a bicycle, or get a motorbike, but what's this business? And he says to me that in the past year, they've sold 19 million Rands worth of e-bikes. He said a gentleman came down from Johannesburg on his Learjet, ordered 2. On his way to the airport, he ordered another 2. That's 1 million Rands worth of bicycle, 100,000 pounds. And I said to him, well, what kind of person is actually doing this? And he says, well, a whole range of different people. For example, there'll be someone who maybe he's a busy executive, or he wants to get out. He doesn't get out as much as he would like to. He's maybe a little unfit, so he wants to keep up with his friends. He flicks the button and he can keep up with them on really, really difficult terrain. Okay. And then he tells me about another woman who goes cycle touring on a road bike with friends, and they can go into quite remote places. They can go to really great places because they can, again, flick the switch and they just go a lot further. The battery lasts about 200 kilometers, he says. And I'm listening to this, and why I wanted to share this story was I noticed how things started to come closer. What I mean by that is that when I first heard 260,000 Rand bike, that's like a freak show, like in my world, right? Now I'm noticing when he's talking about it, I'm thinking, it's not, I can get that. I can see that. I even said to him, when I bicycled, throughout Africa many years ago, 20 years ago, wow, it'd been great to have an e-bike, just flick a switch and go through those kind of really, windswept and bleak terrains. And he says, well, you can get it financed. The bicycle company will do half finance, and you can find the other half, and it's going to cost you a little bit less than it would for a car. And he says, if you go to the center in Stellenbosch, you can just play around. He said, but you must watch out, because you probably walk out with a bike. You'd probably you'll tell yourself you can't afford it, but it's so powerful, the experience, that you'll probably end up buying one. And what I really noticed is the difference between logic and emotion. So logically, ridiculous idea, 260,000 Rand. What I noticed by the end of it was I was like, I think I could probably do that. I haven't even bought one. I hadn't bought one. He said, look, if you want to test drive it, you can. There's a small fee to pay for an excess if it does get stolen, but, fill your boots. Like I said, the fascinating piece was around the emotion. And someone once said to me, we make decisions emotionally and we support them with logic. So when we get the story right and we tap into our emotions, we can also move people positively in the right direction. Thanks for listening.